If you and I were talking together over coffee about your divorce, one of your first questions would probably be, Melina, what should happen to the house? Should I sell it? Should I do a buyout? Or even just co-own it? And unfortunately, the wrong choice can cause major issues. So let me tell you about the most common problems, how to price the home correctly, what to do if one wants to keep the house, how to avoid fights, and the hidden issues that delay a sale. Now, I want to start by telling you about the major issues that divorcing couples run into. The biggest of those by far is letting emotions make the decisions. And honestly, it makes sense. Divorce is emotional. The house may hold years of memories. It's where you spent the holidays, where the kids grew up, and now it may also represent stress, conflict, or chapter someone is ready to close. One of the biggest causes here is motivation. One of you might be feeling like, I just want this over with, while your spouse's attitude is, I'm not ready to let go. Same home, completely different emotional experiences. And that's where things can get expensive because the market just doesn't respond well to anger or hurt, frustration. It responds to thoughtful pricing, timing, and negotiation. Imagine you're driving with a passenger in heavy traffic. If both people are grabbing the steering wheel at the same time, the car is not going to move smoothly. You have to agree on the route, the timing, and the destination. A divorce home sale is very similar. Before the home ever goes on the market, make sure everyone is clear on how decisions will be made, how offers will be reviewed, who approves repairs, who communicates with the realtor, and what happens if there is a disagreement. Because without a plan, every small decision can turn into another argument, and another big mistake is waiting too long. I've lost count of how many times I've heard a potential seller say, let's just wait until things calm down. And sometimes that can be reasonable. But while you're waiting, the bills don't wait. The mortgage still has to be paid. So do the taxes, the HOA, landscaping, maintenance. It's like leaving a faucet dripping in the background. At first, it doesn't seem like a big deal, but over time, that adds up. So while you don't want to rush the decision, avoiding isn't the solution either, because indecision can get very expensive. Now, remember earlier I mentioned how important pricing can be, and it's so easy to make mistakes here too. Have you ever wondered how much your home is worth and seen all these countless websites offering quick and easy estimates? Zillow shows one number, Redfin shows another, then one spouse grabs the highest number and says, see, that's what it's worth. But your home's value isn't determined by who finds the better screenshot online. Online estimates don't know the whole story. They don't know the condition of the home. They don't know the layout. They don't know the view, the parking, the upgrades, or what buyers are actually responding to right now. And those details make a huge difference, especially here in San Diego. So a condo in La Mesa is in a completely different market than a house in La Jolla. And even two homes in the same neighborhood can sell very differently, especially in today's market. Look at it like this. Imagine two homes on the same street. One has updated flooring, fresh paint, good natural light, and a clean yard. The other one has some deferred maintenance, older carpet, a layout that feels like an obstacle course. Online sites often have literally no way to tell them apart. But to a buyer walking through the front door, they're polar opposites. And that updated home might sell for hundreds of thousands more. So whatever you do, don't make a divorce decision based on some automated guess. You need a realistic value the market can actually support, because that value affects everything from your timeline to your net proceeds. The other big pricing mistake I see is overpricing because you need a certain amount. And it's understandable. This is a stressful time financially too, not just emotionally. You might need money to pay debt, cover legal costs, or maybe buy another house. But unfortunately, the truth is, buyers don't pay more because you need more. Buyers compare your property to the other homes on the market. If yours feels overpriced, they skip it. Then the home sits, people start wondering what's wrong with it, and the price has to come down anyway, often even lower than if you just price it right from the get-go. So how do you price your home right? What you need is an expert to give you an informed opinion based on other comparable homes that have sold recently and nearby. An experienced top realtor, preferably one with experience with divorce, who knows how to provide an unbiased perspective. If you're in San Diego County and need a starting point, you can absolutely reach out and I can give you a personalized home value report completely free of charge. But no matter where in the country you are, I have a network of trusted realtors all over the country I can refer you to if need to be. What do you do if one of you wants to keep the house? That's our next topic. This comes up all the time. One spouse wants to keep the house because it feels more stable, especially if you've lived there for a lot of years. Understandable, right? And sometimes keeping the house can make sense if it causes less disruption. Maybe the kids are still in school. Maybe one person can comfortably afford the payment. But the mistake is assuming it'll work before actually running the numbers. Wanting to keep the house and actually being able to afford it are very different things. So look into that early on. Before anyone agrees to keep the house, you have to look at the financial reality of it. Can they refinance on their own? Can they truly afford the mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance? Can they buy out the other person's equity? And if the payment changes or a major repair comes up, does the plan still work? The house may feel like a refuge right now, but if the payment is too high, it can quickly start to feel like a burden instead. And right now you want to eliminate burdens. It's like keeping a boat because you love the memories on the water, but then realizing the slip fees, repairs, insurance, maintenance, and so forth are more than you can comfortably carry. The memories are important, but so is the monthly cost. So before agreeing to a buyout, look at those costs carefully. Another thing most people overlook is that refinancing isn't always as easy as you think. A lender still has to approve it based on current interest rate, plus just one spouse's income, debt, and credit. So do your research early. For example, say one spouse wants to keep the home, but the total income has been cut in half. And because interest rates have jumped by 2 full percentage points since, say, the refinance payment jumps by $1,500 a month. The lender won't approve the loan without both incomes, and a seemingly simple plan completely falls apart. That's why I always recommend do your research early. And if that happens late in the divorce process, it can really create a lot of frustration. So before the divorce agreement assumes one person can keep the home, make sure the plan actually works out. Make sure it works in real life. That's why the financial plan matters. But once the decision is made to sell, there are other areas where conflict can show up quickly, like repairs and showings also. So a key thing to remember is to decide the rules before the home is listed. A quick list to check could include the following: who pays for repairs? Which repairs are actually worth doing? Who approves vendors? When can showings happen? How much notice is needed? How will the home be kept clean? Let's take repairs, for example. Maybe you want to fix up everything to maximize your profit on the sale, while your spouse insists that they don't want to spend another dollar on the house. Not every repair may be worth doing. So usually the best compromise is to focus on what buyers actually need most: cleanliness, odors, lighting, curb appeal, safety issues, and obvious damage. Think of it like getting the home ready for a first date with the market. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it does need to make a good first impression. Buyers may forgive an older kitchen if the home feels clean and well cared for. But if they smell pet odor, see stained carpets, or notice broken fixtures, they start wondering what else is wrong, but they can't see. And that can lead to lower offers. When it comes to repairs, it's all about finding the right balance here. Now, once the home hits the market, showings are where the stress can really build up if you don't plan ahead. Sometimes the problem is deciding who will clean the house for showings, or whether buyers can come through on a weekend. Or what if someone sees one spouse who lives at the property and doesn't want disruptive showings, while the other who's moved out wants as many as possible? Whatever the issue, the best approach is usually to create a clear schedule. The easier the home is to show, the more buyers can be attracted. But if someone is still living there, that person also needs a respectful plan. For example, maybe showings are allowed from 10 to 6 with 2 hours notice. Maybe there are blocked times for important events. The more you decide upfront, the fewer fights you'll have later. Before we move to this next topic, if this is helpful, make sure to subscribe for more real estate guidance. I cover all your questions about real estate and divorce, along with important information that you can apply to any home sale. Now, let me tell you about the hidden issues that can delay the sale. These are things that can show up even when everyone thinks they're in the clear. It's like getting to an airport on time, making it through security, and then realizing your passport is expired. I don't know if that happened to you. You were almost there, but one missing detail can stop the whole trip. One of those potential roadblocks is the mortgage. If payments were missed, if there's a HELOC, if there was a forbearance agreement, or if there's confusion about who is responsible for what loan, you might want to know that early, not a few days before closing. Another one is title. There may be liens, judgments, unpaid taxes, old loans, or other title problems that have to be cleared before closing. And in a divorce, there may always be questions about who has the authority to sign, whether there's a court order, or whether both spouses have to approve the sale. Once you accept an offer, the clock starts ticking. Escrow is basically a series of important deadlines, and a surprise issue can delay closing or put the entire deal at risk, a deal you worked so hard for. Another hidden issue is poor communication once offers come in. One spouse responds right away, the other doesn't. One wants to counter, the other wants to accept. Someone gets upset, stops responding, and that can cost you because the buyer makes a deal now. Imagine a strong offer comes in with a 24-hour response deadline, and your spouse wants to accept. The other wants to counter. Nobody has agreed on the process, so the conversation stalls. By the time everyone responds, the buyer's moved on to another home. That does happen. So again, talk things over before offers come in. How quickly do you respond? Does communication go through attorneys? What happens if there are multiple offers? And finally, have an after-sale plan. When does each person move? How are proceeds distributed? What happens to furniture and personal belongings? These details can create a lot of stress if they're left until the last minute. A smooth sale isn't just about getting an offer. It's about getting to closing with fewer surprises. Now, I've thrown a lot of information at you, but here's the bottom line. Don't forget, selling a home during divorce comes with more emotion and pressure than a typical sale, but it doesn't have to involve more conflict. If you deal with all of these issues early, you have a much better chance of protecting your equity and moving on smoothly to the next chapter of your life. The house should not become another weapon in the divorce. It should be handled like a major financial decision that needs structure, calm communication, and the right professionals around the table for you. If you're in San Diego and going through divorce with a home involved, reach out to me today so we can review your options and create a strategy tailored to your situation. My name is Melina Rizone, and if this video was helpful to you, please subscribe for more guidance on all things real estate. I will see you soon.